This is by far the most well done dungeon in this game, in my opinion. It's also one of the most underappreciated dungeons ever. You know, ever, dude. It's insane how few people know about this dungeon. Hey guys, what is up? AwesomeTheSauce here. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and welcome to a video that is inspired by the fact that we are most probably going to have a new dungeon coming to the Spiral very, very soon. Now, I've been making a lot of videos about dungeons, mainly because I think dungeons are one of the best ways to keep the game alive, active, keep people excited about something. So I thought, why not make a video on what I think, I've never seen this video made, and I think it's a great video to make, you know? What are the top 5 dungeons in Wizard101? What do they do right? What do some of them do wrong? And why I'm ranking them that way. Make sure you tell me what you guys think in the comments below. What are your favorite dungeons? What are your least favorite dungeons too? Let me know in the comments, my mans, and let's get right into the video, homie. Now, number 5 on the list is unfortunately one of the most recent dungeons. Now, here's the thing. By being number 5 on the list, that doesn't mean it's the worst dungeon in the game. There's more than 5 dungeons in the game, you know? I do think, however, that Sunken City is one of the coolest dungeons in the game. Why would I say that? I think it's a perfect length. I think it's one of those examples of dungeons that are really, really good for the difficulty at their level. Here's the thing that I want to highlight about Sunken City, and there's a reason why Sunken City is on this list. You're expected to do this dungeon as a level 10. And what I really like about the fact that you have to do it as a level 10 is look at the health on these people. You'll see something very, very quickly. This is a lot higher than a level 10 should ever be able to deal with. Lord Nightshade had about as much health. Not to mention, as you guys can see, if you are trying to solo it, there are 3 minions instead of 2. It really is cool to me that there's no actual limit on how many people join. So if you want to solo it, it's very, very difficult. But it's doable. It's a challenge, especially at level 10. If you want to do it with more people, that makes more sense. What I like about Sunken City is that it has different mechanics. So soloing is very difficult. That's one thing you really want in a dungeon, but doable. And 2, teamwork is highly encouraged based on the resources you have at that level. I hope that even the minion battles are somewhat strategic in future dungeons, especially if you try to solo it. And that's one of the things I really love about Sunken City. Our next dungeon, it's not surprising that this dungeon is on a top 5 dungeons list because it is one of the best dungeons, I think, in this entire game. So my example here is going to be Tartarus. I think Tartarus is the 4th best dungeon in the game. Again, this is my opinion. But the reason I really, really love Tartarus is one important concept, and it's that it mixes in rare drops with common drops, and it also mixes in ultra rare drops. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like that it has different tiers of drops, so, you know, you keep farming it for the exact piece of gear that you want, but it also keeps people coming back for ages and ages because it has really, really rare drops like the Exalted Amulets and the Amulet of Divine. Let's take a look at Dylan's Summermancer, right? He's just sitting out here, you know? Look at what he has on. He has the Zeus's hat, he has the Hades robe, and he has, you know, some unrelated boots. Even though he's gotten the Hades robe, he hasn't got the Hades hat yet. So he's going to keep on farming. I think I really like that type of tier system. What I would argue is that if you really were to have several different bosses that all drop different things like Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, they should all have their own strengths. I don't think that one of them should be clearly superior to the other one. And I think it's pretty obvious that if you don't give resist on anything but one of them, the one with resist is going to be the best one. So I think that's a flaw in Tartarus, but what I really do like is that there are drops like Amulet of Divine and the Hades robe and different like types of drops, so it keeps you wanting to keep farming. I think Tartarus is a very well done dungeon. I think it has a really nice plot. I think the timing, you know, the length of it is very good. I don't think it's so easy that you can just do it super quickly, but if you had a really good team, you could, you know. I like the pacing and the timing of this dungeon, and I obviously love the drops. I think this is a great, great dungeon. I really, really hope that the drop system is very similar in the next dungeon that we see, and that's why I really wanted to include this on my list. Now, as you make our way through Triton Avenue, I think most people can guess what dungeon I am going to next. It is, yes, the one and only Waterworks. What I really like about this dungeon is obviously I love the pacing. I love that there are like small little puzzles here and there. You know what I'm saying, dude? That makes it a really interactive dungeon. There's an oyster puzzle. There's a follow an eel puzzle. I really like those. I think dungeons should be full of those, in my opinion. And I think they should randomize. They shouldn't be the same one every time. So I think that's one flaw. It gets repetitive once you understand the pattern that you're supposed to go for. But I think the puzzles would be really cool if you really did have to use your mind a little bit. And, you know, maybe people who have that, you know, strength can be a good member to add onto a team. You know, some people might be good at puzzles. It'd be really cool that might be another way to recruit a team member instead of just strength. You know, I think that would be cool if they did that. I think the reason this is so high on the list, though, is because the way the drops work is that one boss halfway through the dungeon drops a good bit, and another boss at the end of the dungeon drops the rest. I really like this system, and I think that's sorely missing from a lot of dungeons. Now, Darkmoor kind of has that. The Athame is dropped by the first guy, and then all the gear, the good gear, is dropped by Mouster. I don't think it should do that, though. I think it really should just make one piece of gear drop by every boss and have the robe dropped by the main boss, because a robe is normally the most powerful thing. I think it's kind of stupid for one boss to drop everything, because it dilutes the drop tables a lot, and sometimes you go all the way to the end of the dungeon, you don't get anything, and it's frustrating. So I think Waterworks does a decent job of kind of getting rid of that. Now, number 2, I don't really have this dungeon because it is an exalted duel. One thing that I really enjoyed and appreciated was a Zeus exalted duel, and that's because you didn't get the same fight every time. 2 of the bosses, Zeus and Cronus were always there, but 2 of the bosses could switch. So it's either Hades and Poseidon, Apollo and Ares, or a combination of those 4. My main problem with the fact that they did that but didn't do everything right is that they basically just randomized the bosses, but the drops were the same. I think it would be really cool if you could randomize what bosses you get, and that would be another way of customizing your runs. You know, you could have something to look forward to every run, and it might get frustrating for some people if they're only going for one drop, but I think it would make the whole run a lot more fun, you know, if you could basically get a different boss every time you went. Now, I know this is a controversial thing, especially because it's number 2 on the list. This is basically why it's number 2. I think it's really cool to have a different experience every time you go into the gauntlet. I think it works a lot better with gauntlets where it's a one-fight thing. I'm not sure it would work that great if you did like 3 hours of dungeon, you know, and then you get a boss that you didn't even want the whole time. That would kind of suck. So I'm not sure this idea would be great, but I do hope that they try to make this idea a more like prominent thing in future dungeons in a way that it's not frustrating, like how I just mentioned. This is by far the most well done dungeon in this game, in my opinion. It's also one of the most underappreciated dungeons ever. You know, ever, dude. It's insane how few people know about this dungeon. The Tower of the Hellephant. Now, if you guys don't know, this is basically the OG Aquila ring and Athame farming spot. So the Blade of the Fell Titan basically had another basically like another type called the Lexicon Blade, and the ring was called the Aureate Band, and that was at the top of the tower. Now let's just go in real quick. I feel bad because I think Kane thinks I'm gonna do this, but I'm not. This dungeon is really cool in the sense that there's a really hard fight at the beginning with tons of cheats. Very difficult for level 60s to do. I would argue that this is probably the hardest thing to solo at the level that you're supposed to do it at. What's great is that it's right away. You know, I love that they have a boss that has a very good drop at the very beginning of the dungeon, and then you grind all the way to the top of the dungeon and then get an even better drop. This is a great system. It's like a whole tower. It's very traditional in that you just keep going up. It would be cool if they had more bosses and more drops in this dungeon, to be honest, and I think that's what they should do. The next dungeon, if it really is, let's say, where you're going underground, for example, right? Maybe you should go deeper and deeper and deeper, and the deeper you go, the better the drops are. It took about 3 hours for a full group of level 60s, even when you communicated well, to do this battle. It's very difficult. It is not easy to do, and it had rewarding drops, in my opinion. I honestly wouldn't complain at all if the Waterworks gear was swapped with this dungeon for the Athame ring, because I really think this is a better, example of what a good dungeon looks like. I do think it doesn't have any really rare drops, and that's my one criticism of it. You know, if it had like an Amulet of Divine type drop here, that'd be awesome. Maybe it does and we don't know because not many people run this dungeon. Maybe. But this is a really cool dungeon. I really love it. I think it's highly underrated. And I think more dungeons should be like, but yeah, man, the new dungeon is gonna be coming very, very soon. And I really hope that it takes into account the strengths of all of the dungeons on this list. You know, I want it to be a unique experience every time. I want there to be something to grind for. I really want there to be something that I can get immediately. I want a reward right away, like the Tower of Hellephant. I really think a lot of the points that I brought up in this video could all be combined into a really awesome dungeon, and I really hope they do that. You know, I think King's Isle is really good about being creative, you know? The plots in all these dungeons are impeccable. I really want to clarify that. I don't have a problem with the plots in any of these dungeons. Darkmoor has a lot of problems with it, but if you like plot, it's an amazing, amazing plot. I do think, however, the execution of a lot of these dungeons are flawed, and I hope they do better, you know? I really do. Maybe get some dropped spells, you know, involved in this. I don't know, man. The world is their oyster this time around. And as long as anything they do isn't too broken, I'd be really on board with it. I want something that I can do that's not PvP related for an extended period of time on this game again. And I really, really hope that they have like a high tier, no trade item like Amulet of Divine to really keep the veteran players, the hardcore players farming. And I can't wait if they really do that, man. I'm really excited. Let me know what you guys thought of this video. Let me know, do you agree? Are you like, Sauce, are you crazy? These are not the top 5 dungeons. Tell me what your top 5 dungeons are in the comments. I would love to read all of the comments, my mates. Thank you for all the love and support on all these videos. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Drop a sub if you're new. Tons of links in the description, including my Twitch, my Twitter, my Instagram, and my Discord. So make sure you join everything. Go crazy. Go stupid. Thank you guys for all the love. If someone has told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. So stay awesome, brother. And yeah.